My colleague, Brian, will be working the chat box as well too. So first of all, thank you very much for joining this very first Unlock Your Network, and it is in creative arts. I'm Shauna. I'm one of the employability advisors in the McGee campus. Some of you might know me, some of you have probably not encountered me yet. Hello. With today's session, going to do a little bit of a housekeeping, guys, first of all. Some of you who have joined there within the last few minutes might not have heard all of us talking and testing the system. But with the housekeeping, one thing I would really encourage you all to do is we want to hear you, we want to see you, and we want you to get involved. So those three key elements there, guys. One thing in regards to having your mic on is if we are when you're in the breakout groups, definitely I would really encourage you to have your mics on. However, if you aren't speaking, if you want to mute your mic so if any background noise isn't heard. Then when it comes to our cameras, we would really encourage you to actually use your videos so that we can see everybody. That we can see everyone, and also as well too, you are already doing it, which is using the chat box as well too. And as I said, my colleague Brian will be he's the glamorous assistant today, and he's going to be manning the chat box as well too. So really, I wanted to say thank you for coming on board for this event. I really want you to get involved in this activities. Remember, what you get in, what you put in is what you get out from these webinars. So I really encourage you to get involved. On that note, I'd like to introduce our creative arts speakers today. So first we have Lauren Hagan, and Lauren is the Student Recruitment Associate for EY. And Laura is going to be giving a little brief about herself now within the next few minutes. Then we have Ivana King, and Ivana oversees film education within the Nerve Centre. And again, she's going to be sharing a little bit about her today. And finally, our third speaker for this morning is Chris Shannon. And Chris is an Ulster colleague, and he is the Enterprise and Entrepreneurship Manager with UUSU. So each one of them are going to give a little brief outline about themselves. So first of all, what I would ask you all to do, if you haven't already, can you just mute yourselves? And then once we get into the conversation then, we will unmute the mics then at that stage then. So I'm going to hand over now to Laura.
Hi everybody, sorry I've just tried to get my video back on again so you can all see me, but I'm having a bit of issue with it, so apologies about that. So thanks so much for having me today. My name is Laura and I work on the student recruitment team within EY, so it is my job daily to work with students like yourselves and guide them on our application process, and also just to educate students on who EY are and the opportunities that we might have. So just a few slides to run through quickly with you. It might look like a lot, but it'll only take a short while. So just a bit of a background about myself. I attended Friends School in Lisburn. I went on to study law at Liverpool John Moores University. I did the first year there, absolutely loved the university, loved Liverpool, but I absolutely hated the course. I just knew deep down it wasn't for me. Throughout school, I'd always been very into the languages and into arts, but at the time, my school was very much driving people towards the likes of medicine, law, accountancy. And if you had the grades, that's kind of what you were pushed into. So decided after that first year that I really wanted to go back into something creative, came back to Belfast and did a foundation art and design course at Belfast Metropolitan College in the Millfield campus. So after that went on to study a BA in photography at the Ulster University. And now at that time it was just straight photography, there was no videography with it. Loved the course, got really involved with it, graduated then with a 2-1 in 2014. Very limited kind of jobs at that time for anyone that was coming out with just a straight photography degree. Throughout college, I had done a lot of volunteering, I'd done a lot of events that had given me experience, but again, it was just the market at the time and very limited kind of opportunities. So I worked in hospitality, I'd worked in a restaurant as a manager throughout university, so I kept that on, but I also then worked into events and recruitment. So throughout university, I had kind of ran a lot of events. I had done like a photo fringe. I had acted as assistant project manager the year I graduated with Belfast Photo Festival. So that gave me a lot of kind of experience within events. So that's how I worked my way into events and then into recruitment. I worked with a recruitment company, started as an administrator in there. And then within 2 years, I was the key account manager for two large public sector accounts, and then I moved on to EY Belfast from last February. So that's a bit of a background to myself. So I just want to run through a couple of slides with you. I want to give you a brief introduction to EY. If you're anything like me at university, I would never have known who EY were. I'm going to tell you a little bit about opportunities that we have open to students, and that would be students from all degree disciplines, what you have to do to apply, and what we look for in students that apply. So just to let you know who EY are, we are a professional services firm. So we help organizations make better decisions about business, finance, technology. You probably would know some of our competitors as PwC, KPMG, and Deloitte. So together with them, we make the big four. We have over 2,000 and 270,000 people now, I think, in more than 150 countries worldwide, and we have 21 offices across the UK. So we're really in the kind of heart of the business community across the country, and we work across 4 service lines, which would be audit, tax, transactions, and consulting. So if we look at some of the opportunities that we would offer students, we range from school leavers. So we would do business academies for students that are in upper sixth. We'd come in and do an insight program, and we also offer business apprenticeships to school leavers. We do Discover EY, which I'm not sure if any of you've heard about, but that is aimed at first year students, and it's a 2-day insight program, and it's really about students coming into the organisation, see what it's like working for a professional services firm, hearing a bit from the business, that kind of thing. And then again, like a lot of companies, we would offer summer internships, 12-month placements, and then graduate training programs. So if I just move on to the next slide. Our application process is really straightforward. We take in students from any degree discipline. A lot of stigma around places, companies like EY being an accountancy firm, professional services firm, that we would only look for students with a business background, finance background, maths. It's not like that at all. We don't ask for a CV or a cover letter. We don't base applications on degree discipline or even, your degree classification. Everything is just really fair, and we welcome applications from across the board. So to apply for any of our positions, it's all done online. You just register for the role that you're interested in, fill in an application form. You are then prompted to do some online tests, which are like aptitude tests, which measure your strength, and there's also a numerical test in there. Then you're invited to an assessment centre where you get to carry out some activities with the company. That gives you the chance to meet the business as well, and then you would move on to a final interview. So it's not too dissimilar from a lot of companies. We would be different in the way that we don't ask for, a CV or certain experience or certain degree disciplines. We would look for certain strengths. So these strengths are probably a lot of strengths that you would have, but you wouldn't necessarily think about. So if I just move on, I can give you a bit of an insight into what I mean about strengths. So strong communicator, we would look for students that are strong communicators, and that goes beyond being, able to write and speak well. It's about being able to sort of adapt your communication style based on who you're speaking with and your audience, and how you can sort of convey information to them. We look for team players, so obviously someone who can work well with their team, naturally build their own networks, who find common ground with others around them. So it's, no secret that a team that works well together delivers the best work. Someone who is adaptable, so someone who has the ability to adapt to new situations and to use their creativity to find sort of innovative solutions to things that are changing around them. Strengths that you might have is being analytical, so people who are open-minded, hungry for knowledge, and want to actively learn new ways to do things. So that would be highly valued by us. Usually people who are analytical are great listeners and can analyze sort of information that's given to them. Number savvy, so just to reiterate, EY don't just look for students coming from a maths, a finance, or a business background. We take in from, art students, medical students, languages, environmental health. But one thing I do tell the students is that they have to kind of have a bit of an interest in numbers. So we at EY see numbers as a language. So when that's understood, it offers great value, obviously, to our clients. So we do look for people who can maybe understand and interpret numerical information. But that certainly doesn't mean that you need to be, have an A in your GCSE maths and have done it for A level and studied it. It doesn't mean that at all. And then obviously in the know that will take you really far in whatever direction you take your career in. Obviously you need to have some commercial awareness about you and know what's happening in the world, and especially with whatever career path you're going down, to know sort of competitors and companies within that. So that's just a really brief intro into me and into EY. I'm very aware a lot of you might not know the company. So I'm very happy to answer any questions, about the company and about the application process, anything like that in the breakout rooms.
That's great, Laura. Thank you about that, because that's really
Thanks.
interesting, and
Sorry
it's really
about my camera there as well. I really don't know what happened. I've tried
no
everything.
no problem at all. And now I'm going to move across now to Ivana. So Ivana is going to just give a little update about herself.
Can everybody hear and see me okay, yeah?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, cool. And if there's any questions at any point, please feel free to put them in the chat box. I was just listening there this morning and looking at the chat box. Firstly, congratulations to all of you.
Yes.
I'm really buzzing. I'm 20 years now in creative arts and film, and to see the wide variety of degrees in jewellery and silversmithery and photography and animation and different things, it's just fantastic, the range of disciplines that you can do. And even when Laura mentioned there that, photography was photography even a few years ago, the range of disciplines and the range of art forms that you have the opportunity to study is really great. So congratulations on all your work, because it's no mean feat, and you're coming out into one of the most challenging climates that's ever been there. So yay, everybody, well done. It's a tough one, and it's a challenging one, but it's also forcing people to be very, very creative and very, very innovative. So all of those skills that we talk about today will hopefully help you start to think in that way, in that entrepreneurial kind of self-starting way, because that's the kind of skills and the attitudes that we need going forward as well. Another point in what Laura has said as well, the EY project sounds amazing, and I hope that none of you kind of think, well, I'm not really into maths or numbers or anything like that, so that's not going to do anything for me. There are quite a few skills shortages in the screen industries, and I'm counting games design, I'm counting animation, visual effects, and film in the screen industries when I talk about screen. There's shortages for production accountants. There are any number of work placements for young people that are interested in accounts and working with film productions as well. It's a really, really exciting area. Any amount of shortages for animators and programmers in visual effects and in games design as well. Math skills, data and analytical skills are key to those posts. So any of these opportunities that you have, even if you think, do you know what, it's not necessarily exactly where I want to be at the moment, please consider the transferability of those skills, because going with a program such as EY could give you really great training, really good networking opportunities as well, and those skills are transferable into the screen industries. Okay, okay, so that was the opening banter there. I'll talk a little bit about myself now, which is always highly uncomfortable, but I'll do my best. And as I said, please ask questions at any point. I graduated from Ulster University 20 years ago this year. I did my degree in media studies in Coleraine. And at that stage, media studies was lovely stuff around the theory of film. And there was one studio in Coleraine that you could use. And I think we did a kind of a quiz show format and a news broadcast format. There wasn't a lot of hands-on opportunities to make film at the degree. But the degree around theory and photography and psychology and feminism and things like that was really interesting. So the year afterwards, I went down to Dublin to DIT. I got in to do a master's in film production, and that was the first course of its kind that had been offered in Ireland at that stage. And it was delivered by the guys that had been nominated for a BAFTA for a short film called 35 Aside, which was directed by Damien O'Donnell. So the production team from that film were actually the teachers in that course. And it was 1 year long. And during that time, we produced 11 short films. So we were able to work as producers or volunteer as sound recordists or part of the camera team on each other's films as well. It was a really tough, very challenging year. I had moved away from all my friends. And I'd moved down to Dublin, which I had to work at the weekends as well as doing my degree. I was lonely, but it was a year that I've never, ever regretted doing, because the learning that I took from that year, I still use today. The structure of my own film programs, I still use similar structures to that program there. So it was invaluable. And I think sometimes challenging years and challenging circumstances, when you look back on them retrospectively, you can go, do you know what? It was really character building to do that, and fair play to me for doing it. So after that, I came back up to Donegal, where I'm from originally, and I had done a lot of theatre and arts in school. I'd done a lot of music performance and drama and things like that. And I got back up to Donegal, and I wanted to start up a film production company in 2002. And there wasn't a lot of opportunity for that at that stage as well. But I started to meet other people that were interested in that, and not a lot of work. But I had had a mentor at school, a teacher that had trained me in drama, who was working in community arts and drama through one of the theatres in Donegal. And she was looking for an assistant facilitator on projects. And a lot of that was going out to schools, working with different youth groups, facilitating drama, organizing productions, things like that as well. And it was paid work, it was freelance, and it was the opportunity to learn. So I absolutely went for it. And that's the other thing, I think, if you have a mentor or a senior figure in your life that can give you a hand up and give you a step forward, I think that's another really important thing. So transferable skills and a mentor, definitely keep those in mind. So from there, I did a lot of work, had a lot of fun doing different production projects. Attended a conference one year, which was run by the Playhouse in Derry, and it was called the UCAN conference. It was an international arts network. At that time, there was a lot of peace building and things going on in the arts. So I went there and met a person there who contacted me after the conference to say there was a job coming up with Youth Action in Northern Ireland for a drama facilitator. So he was leaving his own job to go to the Playhouse, and he wondered whether I might consider applying for that job. And I did, and I got it. And I spent a year in Youth Action in Derry, which was my first job. And from there, then the same person was leaving the Playhouse about a year or two later, and he contacted me again, going, you'd be really ideal for this role. Do you want to apply for it? And I applied for that, and I got that. So that started my pathway to Derry, in the arts scene there. And I worked in the Playhouse for 4 years and did just about anything and everything. I did drama facilitation. I ended up running those conferences, the International Art Network. I did that. I did events management. I ran the Big Tickle Comedy Festival. I did anything and everything in there, and it was 4 years of just really learning on the go from there. After I left there, I started up Comedy Club, which is still running today. It was Mason's Comedy Club, it's now Brickworks. And then I was between jobs and got a call from Pierce at the Nerve Centre, who had remembered that I'd cast a few plays and asked me, could I help out on the City of Culture bid film. They were producing the film for Derry to make for City of Culture, and they were looking for someone to cast it, to find local actors and local faces that would fit the film, and a production assistant. And I said, yes, I would. And at the time that I did that, my mother was very ill in hospital, and I actually wasn't working at all. I was kind of freelancing and different things like that. But I just had a feeling about the opportunity, and I really, really wanted to do it because it had been a long time since I'd done anything with film production. So I did, and had an absolutely magic shoot with that film. It was one of those weeks in Derry where it was like 25 degrees and everywhere looks amazing, and
Yeah.
just like a dream job. So that was when we did that. From there, then there was a couple of freelance producing. So that was producing short films for the Arts Council, and Pierce there had said, "Oh, there might be a job coming up. Sure, I'll let you know." And I'm kind of savvy enough and wise enough to know that when someone says that, unless you're reminding them that you're there all the time, they could hand that job to somebody else. So I got into a habit of sending him an email once a month going, "Hi, how's it going? Do you remember that job you mentioned?" Making a generally a nuisance of myself. But got in there, and that's where I ended up, and that's where I am today. So I'll not go on too long, and please stop me if we're going time poor in this as well, because we can talk more in the breakout rooms. But what I do in the Nerve Centre is my first role in there was managing the light and motion competitions. So Foyle Film Festival in Derry has Northern Ireland's only Oscar and BAFTA accredited film festival, which is great. What that means is that a short film that wins at our festival is eligible for further consideration for the Academy Awards and also for BAFTA as well. The Nerve Centre itself as a production house has been nominated for an Oscar for the short film Dance Lexi Dance, and also for a BAFTA for John McCluskey's amazing animation work, The Crumble Giant, which I hope any animators in this group have checked out. It's really awesome. So I do that, but I also coordinate and run a lot of film education projects. So I run the BFI Film Academy. I run the Into Film, which is a network. So those networking skills from the Playhouse, I was able to apply to one of my roles in the Nerve Centre. That's liaising a lot with schools around using film education and resources connected to the curriculum. I also run Ones to Watch, which is our young programmers group, which is open for anybody aged 17 to 25. Shameless plug, we're starting in July, but what we're actually going to be doing this year is we're going to be looking at programming some online festival events. We're going to be doing some archive film production as well, looking at the UTV archive, and students will get an opportunity to look at archive footage, make films in response. We're going to be doing a little bit of content for YouTube, industry master classes, things like that as well. And I've done this because in my work, and I'm well aware of where you guys are coming from, because a lot of the students maybe that have gone on to cinematic arts in there or have gone on to animation degrees, some of you will have done my BFI Academy. I've also done a lot of work looking at this sector, and the sector is very well provided for young people up to the age of 19. I'm well aware that you students coming into the screen industry, graduating at 21, 22, it's not as straightforward as it can be. So the opportunities that I talked to you about today are there to get you to connect to other people and find people that are interested in what you're doing and don't underestimate the importance of that. Finding your friends, the ones that you'll make stuff with, or the ones that you'll chat about film with, or animation or anything like that. That is so very, very important. Some of you are a lot older than 21, 22.
No, that's like
She was at the networking, building your networking session that you organised yesterday, Shauna. And for those of you that missed that session yesterday, I would suggest that you find the recording, because it was really, really excellent. I'll touch on some of the points that were raised there as well when we get into the breakout rooms. The good news is as well, for those of you older than 26 as well, like there is any you know, there's never been a better time to start in the screen industries, and it is very much less ageist than it used to be as well. So I am aware that the opportunities need to be there for people over the age of 21, myself included, because I still try and freelance on short films from time to time. So while I teach a lot of production as well, I don't get the chance to do as much film production as I used to, but I have in the last couple of years, and I volunteer doing that just to keep my skill set up and to keep my contacts up as well. So the last thing I did was the Willie Doherty film with Raw Nerve, which was starring Christopher Eccleston, and that was done in Ebrington 3 days before the lockdown.
Oh, I didn't realise that.
Oh, it was insane. It was insane. Like, it was filmed in Ebrington over 2 days, and it was beautifully shot, really interesting. And then 3 days later, you know, and
We're
Christopher
in
Eccleston,
lockdown.
who is the number 9 Doctor for any Doctor Who fans, and I'm a massive Doctor Who fan, and he's my favorite Doctor, so I was desperately trying to keep it together on the shoot. But yeah, and it went from being like this awesome day to lockdown 3 days later. But the film is
Oh,
out
sugar.
there, and well worth a look as well.
Oh,
So
I have to say, Ivana, you have really, and one thing, and I have popped it into the chat box, is I love how you talk about the hidden job market. And I know Brian had popped in a question, and certainly I'd like somebody to pick that up when we get into the breakout room, is what advice would you give of building your connections? So that's probably something we'll pick up in the breakout rooms. And also as well too, I know my colleague Gail this morning would have sent out an email to all participants of the UnLock You program, the recording of the Prepare for Your Networking event yesterday. If you haven't received it, I will certainly follow that up, and I know I had sent it out to June and Matthew yesterday afternoon as well too. But I have to say, we could really talk forever about that, Ivana, and I think there's
sorry guys, yeah.
no, there's no, that's brilliant. And I think I can't wait to go into the breakout rooms to actually, because I have to say, I do love that video for City of Culture.
Brilliant.
You see, that's the Derry girl in me. But we'll move on. And Ivana, thank you for that. And our third speaker is Chris Shannon. And Chris, I'm going to hand across to yourself.
Thank you very much. Hello, good morning, everybody. Those are 2 tough acts to follow, so put me at the end, Shauna. It's really good to see so many participants from our programs on the calls. Hopefully, this won't be too repetitive. In fact, I think this will actually probably be something you've probably not heard before, because I've given a bit of a bio on my job at Ulster rather than me. Try and talk about me, so I'm never too comfortable. So just to give you context to those who I haven't had the pleasure yet, it says my sound is breaking up there. Hopefully, if it is the case for others, give me a shout. I'm not sure what I can do about that, but
seems to have settled a bit, Chris. Seems to have settled a bit, so keep going. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So my name is Chris, and I'm the Enterprise and Entrepreneurship Manager across our 4 Northern Ireland Ulster University campuses. And I have the pleasure of working with lots of ambitious and enthusiastic individuals who are on a mission to create their own job by the time they graduate from Ulster University, and sometimes well before that as well. So we do this through a number of different programs across the year. We do this through our enterprise programs, which you'll see down in the first picture on the right there. We run a young enterprise startup program, and I know we have one of our award-winning companies on the call. So hi, Katie.
Oh, fantastic.
Also do this through supporting our range of grants. And we do this with our partners at Santander Universities. So in the past 2 months, we've actually distributed £55,000 in grant funding to students and recent graduate businesses to help them through the current crisis. So we work very closely with partners, and the main reason we do that is because the student enterprise team consists of a team of 2, and that is me and my colleague Naomi Brown, and we work across our 4 campuses. Within the student enterprise team and all of our programs, we engage with about 2,000 students each year. And in the past 3 years, we've helped support the creation of over 300 student businesses. So it's been a busy 3 years, but the beauty about what myself get to do with a range of different students from many different disciplines, with many different ideas. So you learn a lot along the way. And just to pick up on the point that I mentioned there about our Young Enterprise program, so Katie, who's on the call, sorry Katie, I'm giving you a shout out. Katie is one of those students who's working with, has actually just as recent as yesterday, launched her business along with her co-founders that came out of the Young Enterprise Startup Program. And the reason I mention that is because that in the middle of the COVID-19 crisis, and many of our students who we were engaging with in September and October, I don't think ever expected to have to launch a business amidst a global pandemic. And I think that's true Ulster spirit. Pushed on through, and I have no doubt that there are going to be huge successes despite what we're doing. So I am still dropping in and out. I tell you what, I've got a light plugged in that may be positive, so I'm going to turn it off. See if that makes a difference.
Maybe try switching the video off, Chris, in case that helps a little bit.
I was going to say that, yeah.
I will indeed. The other thing, and just in case, I'll just check there. I know that when others were speaking, when people weren't on mute, there was a bit of an issue, but I think everybody is on mute, so we're all good. That's my bad. I'll continue on, and hopefully you can make out what I'm saying. So, to give you a very quick background on myself. So, Brian maybe have his eyebrows, but I started 10 years ago, believe it or not, Brian. Brian will remember me as a fresh-eyed first-year student.
Yeah, I had black hair.
I went through. I started and studied a degree in marketing. So my background is in marketing and advertising. I did that for 4 years at Ulster, and during my degree, like many of you guys on the call, I had the fantastic opportunity to take a year out and do a placement. I did this with Power and I. Power and I provide fantastic placements, and I probably going to be quite biased and say I probably had one of the best placements. And the reason for that was simply because of the amount of training that they put me through. And just as Laura was tapping on and Ivana was tapping on there about the transferable skills, you know, it's about finding opportunities where you can really develop yourself, and knowing that it may not be the ideal of where you want to be in 3 years, but that what it'll help get you to that stage. And Power and I really did that for me in terms of providing me with lots of training opportunities that I was then able to take when I came back to Ulster for my final year and actually become self-employed. So when I started my placement at Power and I was quite shy, but in fact, because I was forced to talk to over hundreds of people at our annual or our monthly staff meetings, because that was one of my gigs as one of the marketing coordinators, they really built my confidence, and in the training that they give me as well, give me confidence to be able to go to many small business owners who I knew didn't have the training that I was given, and help them with their marketing and with their advertising and with their general business growth and profitability. So I spent my final year doing that at Ulster. And one of the things that I got to do when I was at Power and I was work with a number of different agencies and advertising agencies, because they obviously were working with us on our campaigns. Just as I was finishing up my final year at Ulster, I was working away and was actually doing quite well in the freelance and being self-employed. I was working with a number of startups and a number of small businesses, a number of business enterprise agencies. I actually got a message on LinkedIn, and this is again just to touch on the other two speakers, the power of your network and the power of the question that Brian had given there. How do you build that network? So I actually got a message on LinkedIn from one of the directors of one of the agencies that I worked with during my placement at Power and I. And they contacted me and said, Chris, you might remember me. And I said, of course I did. You're one of the directors of an agency. I wanted to reach out because I know you'll probably be graduating sometime soon, and I wanted to see if you were still looking for a job, because we worked really well together during your placement. So that was never my plan. I had never applied for a graduate job. I had applied for 0 jobs right up and before my final year exams, and my intention was to continue building the business that I'd already started in my final year, and continue because it was growing quite well at that point. But I had the conversation, and with that director, we met for coffee, and I was offered an opportunity that would allow me to expand my knowledge a bit more and get some more training, because it would allow me to work with global brands like Microsoft and Kerry Group, which you may have never heard of, but Beck's Beer, all those ones. So really cool brands as we would know them. So I took that opportunity again because I knew that that experience would give me the transferable skills to do what I wanted to do later on, and be that go back into business myself or help and support those businesses. So long story short, I was in AV Brown for 3 years. I was head of the media team in there. I was responsible for all of our advertising in terms of TV, radio, social media, digital, the lot. And it was really a good experience. What was interesting was, and I say this not to boast or anything, but to show the power of a network and the power of that transferable skills. And when I had started in there, I brought some of my clients to AVB because that was part of the chat that we had. It was never intended to be employed by an agency. But when I started in there in July 2015, I started at the same time as 3 other people in my class. But the difference was I was started as a manager and the 3 other people in my class started as an assistant. Now, the reason I say that is because the only reason that was because I put myself through all the extra training required to make sure that I had the skill to go in at that level. And so that involved doing Google exams, doing all that type of stuff on the side. But I also had the power of my network because when I had the opportunity to impress these people during my placement year, I made damn sure that I did. So long story short, again, just back at Ulster now. I've been here for 3 years, get to work with lots of really enthusiastic, ambitious students like yourselves, and I've lots to share in terms of the support that we offer at Ulster. I know my sound's cutting in and out, so I'm going to leave it there, and I'm going to pick up in the breakout rooms if anybody has any further questions. So I'll hand it back over to you, Shauna.
Thank you, Chris, for that. That was really interesting. Chris, I didn't realise that you have gone on such a journey and worked for Kerry Foods as well too. Me and you need to talk, because I worked for Kerry as well too. Yeah, in a past life. Now, guys, that's really our introduction. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to be moving into the breakout rooms. So Brian is going to actually put everybody into the breakout rooms. One thing I would sort of suggest in the breakout rooms, guys, is if this gives you the opportunity to chat and ask questions to each of the speakers. So we are going to place these in the breakout rooms. We're going to, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to be rotating the speakers around the rooms. They're going to be there with you for the next 15 minutes. So it gives you that opportunity to be able to chance to chat to them and more. And one thing I really encourage is get involved. Ask Chris those questions. Ask Ivana about what would she recommend of building those connections. Talk to Laura about, you know, what students are actually, what graduates are coming to EY, and talk about her. And I know from talking with Laura myself that she still picks up the camera and does a bit of photography as well too. So it's not a lost area as well. So we're going to place these into the rooms now, guys. So I'm going to hand over to Brian.
Okay, guys. So Shauna said we're gonna place you into these breakout rooms and then rotate our guests around these 3 groups that we've set up. So we would ask you to turn your audio on because we want this part to be conversational really. So and as Shauna said, there's probably plenty to talk about. Whether the speakers that are rotating around your particular group have studied or are working in a subject area that is relevant, what you feel is relevant, our speakers' journeys and the lessons they've learned through those journeys are clearly relevant to kind of everybody. So what'll happen is I'm going to start the breakout room in a few seconds. And then you'll kind of come out of this main room, which we're in at the minute, and then go into that breakout room, and that's where you'll be for the next 15 or 20 minutes. And then Sean and myself will kind of dip in and give sort of a bit of a time warning of when we're going to move our speakers. So yeah, I'm going to hit the start button now, and please do share your audio and video if you're comfortable with that, and we'll check in and make sure everything's working okay. So I'm going to start now. Okay.
Have you them all in the rooms, Brian? Now?
Yep. So there, it's just, yep.
Group 2. Oh, that's brilliant, Brian.
Yeah. So that seems to be set up now. This is what I'm not sure. How would we? Oh, there's Tracy. I'll have to put Tracy in a room. Hold on. Breakout rooms. Breakout rooms. Breakout rooms. Tracy. Tracy, you can probably hear us. I know Tracy was having some sound issues,
Yeah.
but I'm going to move her into one of the breakout rooms. So Tracy, if you can hear us, I'm going to put you in group 3, so you'll probably go out and come back in again.
I can
good.
hear. That's
Good.
perfect.
Good.
Thank you.
Good. No worries.
Shauna, do you
So,
need to stop your recording? Because I think this is recording.
oh yeah.